If you're a parent of a child or teen with neurodivergence, then I'd love to invite you to a special free online talk I'm doing, all to help neurodivergent families. Now, each day, I'm sure you appreciate, an experience is tough, whether it's to do with the emotions or the social or just the pure exhaustion of parenting a neurodivergent child or teenager. Perhaps they've officially been diagnosed with a condition, or you just suspect that there is some level of neurodivergence. Or perhaps going through the process, you realise yourself that there is some level of neurodivergence. There is more and more research coming out that some of it is genetic or can be genetic, and therefore it may be that through age and experience and other things, you've learned how to mask and figure things out and just get on with things. But actually going through the process with your child or teenager, you realise there's perhaps some present. Either way, this talk is for you. And on the free talk, you'll learn all about my special S.P.E.C.T.R.M process. And no, I haven't spelt that wrong. In all my years of experience, I realised that within each neurodivergent condition, there are key areas that many really struggle with. And that's what I've picked up on. Now, other services may treat the condition. There may be medication involved, but actually teaching strategies and skills and life experiences to help that individual long term, that's what we need. And that's what you'll learn a little bit more about on the free talk. So let me explain. S is for social. Now, whether it's autism that struggles with the eye contact or the social cues or social nuances such as banter or humour or anything, or perhaps really finds it overwhelming and overloaded to be around groups and the louder noises that come with that. Or perhaps with ADHD, the sort of personal boundaries that are not necessarily recognised, or maybe they're too friendly, or perhaps they just forget about messaging a friend, so they leave that friend on non-ticked for too long. All of those things. There are variations within the social realms that I teach and coach young people about. And this is all recognising the individual rather than the condition itself. So S is social. P, personal. How many times have you checked whether your child or teenager has brushed their teeth regularly, showered regularly? How long ago was it that they showered, bathed, or even washed? Personal care can be very, very difficult for those with neurodivergence. Of course, there's variation. So it might be a sensitivity to touch, whether that's sort of with water or a shower. It may be just purely the forgetfulness. Their window of time is very narrow, so they don't even think about it. So learning how to put that into their brain and teaching them how to do it can be really helpful. So P is personal. E, emotions. Emotional meltdowns, emotional sensitivity, emotional impulses. So learning how to manage the emotions. And that's partly what happens is lots of sort of processes are about reactive. Here what we want to do is be more proactive. We want to sort of recognise potential triggers and of course for that individual help them recognise long term. If you think about any health condition, now I've had a thyroid condition detected when I was the age of 4. So I've had that health condition, tablets, operation, all sorts of different things for many, many years now. And I have to manage it long term. So the different ages and stages that I've been through and continue to go through, I have to then be aware of it and adapt towards it. And neurodivergence is similar to that. We have to learn through different ages and stages to adapt and learn strategies, coping strategies and workable techniques long term. C, communication. Now, if you think about it, communication is so complex. Now, there's 4 main areas. So internal communication, our self-talk. Some neurodivergence doesn't necessarily recognise the self-talk. Others are more a case of too much self-talk, too much imagination going into their head. There's the external communication, so the words that we use, or perhaps, of course, getting more used to what we type, whether that's messages or emails. There's the non-verbal communication, so everything that we express through non-words, and then of course our verbal communication, the words that we use. So even within those 4 areas, communication is so complex, and for those with neurodivergence, that gets even more difficult and confusing. So learning how to break it down, to learning how to find acceptable and non-acceptable communication behavior is so important for those, especially socially and going into the next stages of their life. T, time management, time awareness. Now, lots of neurodivergence, the time awareness or the time window is very narrow. So perhaps a neurotypical person might be able to see, and plan into a couple of months or a holiday coming up in a few weeks or something. A lot of neurodivergence can't do that, or they have that capacity which is a lot less than others. So we've got to learn how to teach about time management. How many times have you been hurrying up your child or teen? How many times have you repeated, come on, we're going to be late, or other things? So it's teaching how to actually recognize time so that they can then, of course, be on time for things. They're not going to get too many detentions from homework that's delayed and other things. R, relaxation and regulation. Now, regulating behaviour and energy levels, of course, with children and teenagers that are school age and they go to school, then that is going to be incredibly draining. Socially and emotionally, the school day is so draining for them. So, of course, learning how to regulate their emotions and their behaviour, but also ways to relax. And relaxation does not mean sitting there and doing nothing. It's finding ways that is self-soothing, that they recognise the times that they need that in order to make those changes. And M, well, 3 M's, motivation, mindset, and memory. They all go together. So mindset, a lot of neurodivergence comes with a level of negative bias, which means that they think negatively first, or they have a very fixed view that sees the more pessimistic side of things, or perhaps very sort of cognitively over-exaggerated with how they think. So mindset, motivation, delays, procrastinations, don't want to do things, resistance to things, motivation, and learning how to feel more motivated and get motivated with something is really helpful. And then memory. Simple ways to improve the memory, because it's, well, how many times have you said, you're so forgetful? Of course, no judgment. Why are you forgetting things? Or young people start to realise, I'm so forgetful. They start layering those negative labels and unhelpful belief systems. So we want to change that. And that's what you're going to learn a little bit more about on my free talk. So all you need to do is click the link and fill out a few details, book your seat, grab a cuppa, and it will be a pleasure to share with you to help you and your neurodivergent family.